This is what the sage is open to. Lots of things come, lots of things go. It's all one process. The sage does not try and adapt that process to suit some limited notion of himself. So these are, within that paragraph, we've got this, the Yoga Vasistha really talking from that space which we want to be appreciating things for ourselves. And then it goes on to say, you might not agree with this, but he goes on to say, this scripture is easy of comprehension as it is richly embellished with a number of interesting stories. One who studies this scripture and contemplates its meaning has no need to undertake austerities, meditation or repetition of a mantra. For what is greater than liberation which is granted by a study of this scripture? Austerities, meditation, repetition of a mantra, in other words, standard spiritual practices. This word spiritual in quotes here. We tend to think that living certain lifestyle, meditating, repeating a mantra, prayer, or whatever, that all these things are going to lead to some kind of spiritual understanding. Not so. I mean, they might do, but so can going for a walk or listening to some music. All these things, there's nothing wrong with them in themselves. It's only when you think that they're going to take you to the other shore, to take you to liberation. Well, you're on a hiding to nothing there. One who studies this scripture and comprehends its teaching is no longer deluded by world appearance. When one sees that the yonder deadly snake is a lifelike painting, one is no longer afraid of it. When the world appearance is seen as an appearance, it does not produce either elation or sorrow. It is indeed a great pity that even when such a scripture exists, people seek sense pleasure, which lead to great sorrow. The underlying premise of the Yoga Vasistha is that the world appearance is no more real than a dream, and it's possible to wake up from that dream. When we dream, we can get caught up in some very intense emotions, either very pleasurable or very terrifying, and then we're told when we wake up it was only a dream. It was only a dream. And in the same way, the world appearance is only a dream. So we need to no longer be afraid of it. O Rama, when a truth that has not been personally experienced is expounded, one does not grasp it except with the help of an illustration. Such illustrations have been used in this scripture with a definite purpose and a limited intention. They are not to be taken literally, nor is their significance to be stretched beyond the intention. When the scripture is thus studied, the world appears to be a dream vision. These indeed are the purpose and the purport of the illustrations. Let no one of perverted intellect misinterpret the illustrations given in this scripture. So let's not have any fundamentalism, please. How about that? A scripture which says, please do not take this literally. It is for purposes of illustration only. So the Yoga Vasistha is about parables, it's about stories. And Vasistha tells us how we should approach this. Vasistha continued, parables have only one purpose, to enable the listener to arrive at the truth. The realization of truth is so vital that any reasonable method used is justified, though the parables themselves may be fictitious. The parables themselves are only partly applicable to the truth thus illustrated, and only that part is to be grasped and the rest ignored. Study and understanding of the scriptures with the help of illustrations and of a qualified teacher are necessary only till one realizes the truth. So we're getting stories, and there might be some extraneous elements in these stories, and we should be careful that we don't home in on these extraneous elements as something important. We should be looking for a sense of what's being conveyed here. Again, such study should continue till the truth is realized. One should not stop short of complete enlightenment. A little knowledge of the scripture results in confusion worse confounded. Non-recognition of the existence of supreme peace in the heart and assumption of the reality of imaginary factors are both born of imperfect knowledge and the consequent perverted logic. We should be very, very careful here in studying this text that we don't form a system of belief, a system of notions and ideas. There has to be a subsequent supreme peace in the heart. That is the point. That is what we mean by truth here. We don't mean truth as a set of ideas. We're talking about truth as an integrated sense of being, a sense of completeness. We don't assume the reality of imaginary factors. That's what he means by, although the Yoga Vasistha, as I mentioned before, appeals to the imagination, it uses the imagination, we do not start assuming reality of imaginary factors. And imaginary factors are notions, beliefs, ideas. Even as the ocean is the substratum of all the waves, direct experience alone is the basis for all proofs. The direct experience of truth as it is. The Yoga Vasistha is pointing us to something. It's not trying to convince us of something. It is trying to point us to something. And that's what we need to be looking for. We need to be looking for what the Yoga Vasistha is pointing us to. The language might seem quite difficult, the context might seem quite difficult, what is being said might seem incomprehensible, but we're not being taught ideas to get our head around. We're being pointed to something. Each time we don't understand something, we look within ourselves. We turn the attention, we examine the attention, our awareness, and we consider our attention or our awareness. Which in this context, in this context are the same thing.